Mark Holtom, good to have you with us today. Mark has brought forth a couple of great ideas, and we are looking to share them today for new immigrants looking to obtain a mortgage without any credit. Mark, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Really appreciate you putting this together.
Well, it's pretty easy when you kind of shared the content, based off of a lot of leads that we get in, into our website there, and predominantly a lot of people are new immigrants. I would say that probably 50–60% of the leads that we get are people that are new to Canada that are either been here for a few years now in the process of obtaining their permanent residency, or have just come within the last 6 months, and they're not really sure how to purchase a house without having 100% cash to put down, or 60%, but and they're looking for somebody to sort of help them navigate those waters, whether that be a process of over 6 months, or sometimes up to 2 or 3 years that we've had people in our database for. So really appreciate you coming online here and sort of sharing. So with that being said, there is a program out there that you've sort of enlightened me on that we're talking about for new immigrants to build their credit so that they can obtain a mortgage, and the traditional means have been in the past, you get a credit card, there's other forms of you get a car loan, which, as we all know, can upset your debt service ratio, and can sometimes actually be more detrimental than it can be beneficial in building your credit history. So explain to me how somebody new to Canada can, what's required to obtain a mortgage, I guess, would be the first thing.
Well, it's a good question, and a bit of a time frame that's in there. There are exceptions to these rules, but we're going to go and break these down to people that have been here for 6 months and people that have been here for a year or more, on planning on staying in Canada and moving and buying a house. So number one, at 6 months, you're going to need a minimum of a 10% down payment, and 5% of that needs to come from your own resources. These can be resources brought in from the previous employment, from out of the country, that are in there. That's great. And if you're in here for a year, in Canada for a year, you only need 5% down payment, of which does need to come from own resources. So the difference, if it's not coming from your own resources, where is it coming from? It can come from a gifted fund, or even sometimes borrowed funds, if the debt servicing is there. That's really step one of understanding what you can really be doing. And working with a realtor here is extremely important to make sure that you are getting into something that you're setting that plan up for. So that's a very big part to be able to make sure. And generally that realtor is that first contact as well, right? Like, they're an easier, touch point, because the financial system can be a bit scary to new immigrants coming in. What we're really going to move for then is building that credit. And like you mentioned, a car loan, the traditional means, getting a credit card, these are still things, but let's be careful and let's build that together. This is a plan, and we want to be able to get there. So with that plan, let's really think about, we've got to build credit for 6 months. The primary thing you're going to start off with is opening a bank account. Let's get a bank account. Let's get funds in there so that we're starting that bank account history. You're going to need a place to live while this is all happening. And this is where the credit program that we introduced to you, Chris, comes into place. It'd be great if those rent payments that you're making help build your credit. And there are options to be able to do that. I know, Chris, you had a specific list of questions, so I don't want to ramble too much on that first piece, but that kind of sets the stage for building first.
No, you'd mentioned people that have been in Canada for 6 months, 1 year. Are these people that already have their PR, their permanent residency, or can these be people that are still yet to apply for this program?
That is correct. They can be yet to apply for this program. They have to have a reason to be in Canada, and which is the largest piece of that would be a valid work visa. The plan really is that they're going to be here for a longer term and applying for PR, but you don't necessarily need to have a PR to be able to make that work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So with this program here, I mean, obviously I can't see, you know, if sort of the vision or the dream, you know, for a new immigrant to be settled and, you know, have a home and, you know, something that, you know, they can raise, you know, their kids with, or, you know, their dog, whatever it be. Does a landlord need to be involved in this program as well? Does he have to, what are his obligations, you know, to helping out his tenant?
So there is no obligations, and in some cases, the landlord needs to be involved, and in other cases, they do not. There really is 3 programs that are out there to do this. Some come with a low cost, and some are a cost. When I say a low cost, we're talking in between, you know, $4 to $10 a month. And which is really a small cost to be able to launch your credit history here to move forward. And if the landlord chooses not to participate in it, it can still be done, like by basically connecting with that bank account that we're talking about, which is really a big first step to getting something set up, and then reporting those rent payments via these 3. There's 3 real programs to set these up. Reporting those payments to a credit bureau directly, which gives you another, what we call trade line. For example, a credit card can be a trade line. A car loan can be a trade line. A line of credit can be a trade line. There's options, as well as these rental payments can be a trade line. There is several trade lines that can be out there, student loans as well. These are pieces that can all be put forward. But with the landlord in tow, it's a little bit cheaper, and it's an extra little step for them to help you go through the process and really create a great transition to becoming a Canadian.
Yeah, and the benefit, obviously, you know, for a landlord is, you know, they almost have the added security of knowing that, you know, their tenants are gonna maintain, you know, or continue to pay their rent. Not only just pay it, but likely on time, you know, or whatever is agreed upon. So that's stability for a landlord. You know, and as well, you hope that, you know, the tenant takes a little bit more pride and ownership in, you know, the occupancy or for the duration of their lease there. So, you know, you're in the business of helping people obtaining the mortgages. How does that benefit mortgage brokers?
Well, I mean, the benefit to a mortgage broker is, like, we're assisting clients to build credit this isn't a what's immediate, like what can you do for me now component. Is you're helping a community and you're assisting that client to build a credit to meet mortgage lender requirements down the road. You're going to make that process easier for the mortgage broker as well as for the client. You know, you're going to jumpstart that credit history for new to Canada applicants, period. And you help one person, that's not the only person you're helping. They're going to tell that person within their community of how to do it. And the more we make it easier just for our community at large, the easier it is going to be for everybody else. Like a happy client tells people and moves it forward, and that makes it even easier for the rest of the industry. You know, we're positioning ourselves as the expert in the field with information that's not generally known. And, you know, we present a value add, like, you know, information with the realtor. Like, it's a very key part that we need to work with the realtor to be able to get that done, because we want to set realistic expectations. If they're coming in here day one thinking they can purchase a property, that might be a falsehood. That might have been some information that they saw on, who knows, a social media platform, anything else to move forward. And it's creating and setting that realistic expectation. So when there's a goal to work towards, I think all of us can agree that it's easier to get there. And when you really have a realistic goal, that's a really nice piece. So those are the big benefits to, you know, the mortgage broker and the realtor and the client. It's all a symbiotic relationship.
Love how you put all that together. Um, what other challenges, do immigrants face, with trying to obtain a mortgage? I mean, I want to ask that question because, this is just one component of that piece of the puzzle there.
It's a great question, and like a lot of the times, they're going to obtain employment here, of which they're already, great, whether that's they're in the trades, medical field, other professional fields, any of those. So that's a big tick box to go, and that's not necessarily where the issue. Sure, you've got to finish your probation. You've got some standard clauses that are in there. You want to make sure it's consistent income. We don't want to get somebody into, too quick, and then they find out they don't like the profession or the job, and they leave it, and then are possibly getting into a foreclosure situation. Everybody wants to avoid that, but that's a fairly straightforward piece. The bigger piece here is that credit and that down payment. Like, it is pivotal to get that bank account open and really stick with that bank account, for that piece. Like, don't go and open 5 or 6 different bank accounts and report and move it all forward. Consistency is the biggest piece that our financial institutions are looking for. Is there regular payments in? Is there regular payments out? And that bank account itself can help towards that credit history. We are asked on a regular basis for 6 months or 12 months of bank statements. We want to know what the tendencies of that client is, and guide them to doing it correctly. Like, running into overdraft and having overdraft fees are not a big piece because they want to hold on to cash. We got to get that cash into the bank and validate it. And depending on where these clients have come from, banks aren't as trustworthy in other parts of the world. And us as Canadians have a lot of faith in our banking system. And that's just not the case that is throughout the world. And even in a lot of other, G8 countries, it's just not the case. So that is a piece that we have to dispel and really help. And that's a concerted effort. It's not just a realtor and a mortgage broker that need to help these guys understand that our banking system is exactly what it is and how it's helping create the environment in the Canada that they have known and loved and want to come to. So that's a really big piece to get them involved and move forward. So that bank account is pivotal.
Yeah. How long have you been aware of this program? Or how long has this program been in existence for?
So I can't answer the question of how long the program's actually been in existence for, but been aware of this program probably since about September of last year, and did a bunch more research on it to really understand, what's going on. And there's benefits to the landlord, there's benefits to the tenant, and I'll kind of run through some of those quick ones on there. Like, so the benefits to the tenant is that you're building your credit without taking on any other additional debt. Like, you're not going to get a car loan just to build credit, right? That's a big piece, and credit worthiness is a component, right? Like, sometimes in some of these programs, you can actually get reward points on your credit card or various other payment method that really comes forward. And like the reporting of, like, if there is any landlord tenant disputes, you now have a third party that's either proven that you have paid or not paid to be able to move forward. So it's almost a mutual benefit there. So, and then future landlords, should you, if you're looking to bring in other, other family members or planning to, rent for a little bit longer, it's a very easy process in the interview process to say, hey, look, I've been paying my rent on time for the past year. Like, I'm sure many landlords hear that, hey, good tenant, always paying, like, but there's not really too many ways to actually prove that. So it improves that landlord tenant communications. And on some of the platforms, the rent payment for the tenant is assuring rent is always paid on time. So that is a benefit of really you're building that credit, and it's going to show up as a credit line right on there. Some of the benefits for the landlord are, just reduce rental delinquencies, again, like reporting landlord tenant disputes if something does come up, help attract responsible tenants. If you plan on paying on time all the time, you're not going to have an issue with this. If you're not, you're probably going to shy away. And then again, communication. And the more proof that we have on that is really, most of these platforms even have automated notifications. So, it's not like you're having to call somebody and talk to somebody, it's automatic.
Yeah. No, that's really good information. You mentioned that you've been on this or aware of this program since September. What if any sort of success or positive stories or anybody that you're aware of right now that's jumped on this campaign here? Can you share a few if you've got some?
Yeah, we've had a couple, and I'm going to kind of share one. I'm going to split these into two factions here. One from what we call fortunately sanctioned countries, where there could be increased funds that might not be legitimate coming out of them, and some that are not. So somebody immigrating here from a war-torn country of any kind, a lot of the times, hey, there's a bit more of a microscope that's going on there, and probably a larger not lack of trust for financial institutions is probably the best way to put it. This is then require, like, it's a piece where they're not taking anything out and not requiring that borrowed piece. And the big success story is actually we've had probably, oh God, it's got to be 8 or 12 of these in the last bit to understand that our financial system is over reporting a lot of the time. And if we can get these folks on these rent payments, they can also see that the landlord is held accountable as well. There's nothing along the lines of saying, hey, they hand over cash and then it's just disappeared and the landlord says they haven't got it. Many of these stories we've seen like come up, and getting the belief and the understanding in that particular side is a pivotal piece, and getting these tenants on board. So sometimes they've kind of been floating for the first 3 months that they've been here. We'll get them on the program, get that bank account going and moving, and then understanding exactly what needs to happen to move forward. And that is just a piece that they're probably more thankful for than almost getting the houses, is integrating into the Canadian culture and understanding what that takes, and that it's not trying to take from you. We are better with all of us in there. And I mean, I'm sure, Chris, you see it as well. When you're handing keys over to a tenant, a previous tenant and now a new homeowner, this might be something that even 6 months ago in their where they were residing previously was never even a dream that they could have, let alone anything else. So, and then those coming, let's say, that are immigrating from the States or European countries to move forward, that might have a little bit more trust in the financial system. It really lets them believe in, hey, this is coming forward. This is actually being reported. It's moving forward, and they see the benefit to being able to build their credit that much quicker. And that might lead to bigger borrowing potential as opposed to lower borrowing potential for that first home, to be able to step into that home of their dreams right off the bat, as opposed to a stepping stone. Hopefully those are some of the success stories. And if you'd like me to go into more detail, please let me know.
Yeah. Well, we possibly could do success stories as a follow-up to this, because I think that there's a lot of people that can certainly take advantage of it. I would say that probably a few times a month we're passing off your contact information, and it's kind of that same story where they don't have that credit, and they're a year out or 6 months out or what have you, in which they can pull that trigger. And with the way that Alberta's economy, probably more so a little bit, Calgary's economy is going, for set to grow this year, probably somewhere between 5 to 7%, with an entry level home or a condo being around 300,000 right now, minimum. 5 or 7%. I mean, that you're talking about somebody's down payment at that point, right? So they want to get ahead of the curve as much as they can. And this program, as you said, once they have that vision, you can sort of chart, between this month, this, and this, status quo, all things being equal, that by the time, your 6 month or 1 year or what have you, you should be able to be ready to be able to pull the trigger, if you find a property that's suitable to you. It's kind of how I'm seeing this play out.
And Chris, like, Alberta within just Canada is one of the most affordable provinces in the country. like the net migration coming here is going to be well done. Calgary is a little bit ahead of the curve than the rest of the province right now, and there's some great reasons for that. It's proximity to the mountains and whatnot, and I do believe that that economy is going to continue to grow and to move forward. So we want people to get in there, and the sooner they start planning, the sooner they start making that goal. And that's what we really want to put. The goal is a purchase, but here are the steps you need to get there. Between the realtor and the mortgage broker, we can make that happen for them and really push that forward.
Yeah. No, that's really good information. So if somebody is looking to learn more about it, the steps, which companies, offer this program, what you need to do to get, the support people in place, realtors, landlords, what have you, what exactly you need to do. How do they get a hold of you?
You know what? A quick email is probably the best way. It's just Mark, M-A-R-K, at onthemarkmortgages.com.
Okay, awesome. I'll put your contact information in the link, below when we post this. So really appreciate you providing your time here and giving some insight to how new immigrants can achieve that I guess that dream of home ownership. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Right on. Thanks, Chris. Enjoy the time. Have yourself a great day.
Yeah, you as well. Cheers.